All right, Scott, dude, it's great to have you on the show. Thank you for joining me. You're in the light. I'm in the dark.
Yes. Well, we are all in the dark somewhat,
Yes.
aren't we? We're like kind of hiding away in our offices or our homes.
That is right. I was telling everybody in the intro how we met, and of course, that's the power of masterminds. And you of course had me on the podcast. Now you're here on ours, and that is super cool. And we talk about online business and e-commerce, which is what you've been teaching and taking action.
Sure.
And now everyone's talking about pivoting, going into the online space, and future-proofing their business. So, what does that look like to you? Just you teach people to take action, get stuff done.
Yeah.
Right now, people have to get stuff done. Like, as much as we're all vegging out watching Netflix, some people actually still want to be productive. What do you say to that?
Yeah, no, and I think you bring up a great point. I think you and I could even speak to it, right? It's like, when this all happens, you kind of ask yourself, like, what does this mean for myself, for my business? And I mean, I kind of go way back in the day, like when I was running a brick and mortar company with my father in the construction field. If this would have happened to that business, we would have been in some trouble, because payroll would need to be made. Customers, their homes aren't getting redone or remodeled, and this, that, and the other thing. And so I really feel bad for those businesses. But I think for all of us, it's really just a wake up call. Like, where are we in our, whether it's entrepreneurial or our business or our job or whatever? It's like, it's one of those things that it should make it very clear to you. If you have holes in your business or if you have holes in your life, right now is probably a time that's going to say, hey, let's take a look at this. And I think you're right. There is people that are talking about pivoting. And I think more so of people pivoting from having a regular job, or maybe someone that's really done all of their business through live events. Maybe that's it. Maybe it's more workshops. I know you've been doing workshops. I've been doing workshops. I love them. But if that was my whole business, I'd be screwed.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
So yeah, absolutely. I mean, I don't know, man. It's a tough thing for a lot of people, but I think for me right now, I'm kind of encouraging people to embrace this, but I'm not looking at it like it's a money grab, right? Because some people are going to be taking 2, 3, 4 steps backwards,
Right. Right. So, you teach a lot of people how to build an e-commerce business, which is not the same as a lot of what folks like I do, right? Like I don't consider myself in the e-commerce business. I consider myself to be a coach who sells things and, monetizes stuff online. Right. So I don't consider myself an e-commerce business. Are you seeing a lot of people who are now like looking into getting into e-commerce? Because like Amazon's going to save the world right now.
No. Well, here's the deal though, Mike. And I mean, since you and I have last talked, like my whole business has pivoted, not even just from this, but from me being so much into the e-commerce world. And, e-commerce is just sales being done online, but we all know e-commerce as like physical products, people buying stuff. But I've been really, myself personally, I've been doing this for the past 2.5, 3 years, where I'm not focusing 100% on just being the physical product business. So we're really taking it as a hybrid approach. And I was actually just got off a call with my business partner in a brand that we have, that we do sell physical products, but we also sell digital products, and we generate revenue through affiliate sales, and we generate revenue through advertisers that advertise on our website. So like, I am known for the Amazon e-commerce world, but Scott has been trying to pivot himself over the past 2.5, 3 years to be more of like, let's build a brand. However we monetize, but we need to get the attention in the market, period.
Yeah, I think that speaks to a lot of how folks are talking now. Like, how do I future-proof things, right? Diversify the revenue streams, create multiple revenue streams, create multiple streams of exposure. Can you talk a little bit about, you said before, people are looking at their models and they're seeing holes in the business, and I haven't skipped a beat. I'm very fortunate. I haven't skipped a beat. Others, they get cleaned out just because one live event gets canceled, right? And so
yeah.
I don't know that I've necessarily always intentionally tried to future-proof things. I think I just divested a lot, right? Or diversified a lot. What would you say are some proven steps people can take right now to future-proof the business? Because this will pass. You know, we even the human race, we're going to figure this out. But what can we do now to set up a lot of things so that when we get out of this, we're like, our businesses are actually in a healthier place than before?
Yeah, it's a great question. And I have a great answer. And I think you're going to agree with it because I know you preach about it a lot. First off, you need a channel that you control. And one of those channels is email. So I've been sending out emails, and I have my own like TAS, like the Amazing Seller business, right? Podcast and like that whole thing, coaching. But I also have digital businesses and other brands that I'm doing the exact same thing. So if we didn't have the email list, I couldn't send an email to 35,000 people and let them know that, number one, we're here. Like, we're not gonna ignore this. Like, we're gonna say, like, hey, like, let's just say, for example, I'm in the bass fishing market. If I'm selling to that market and I'm showing up to that market and I have an email list, I'm gonna communicate with those people and say, hey, listen, this sucks. We're all kind of cooped up, but you know what? We still have our fishing pole. Let's go out to the pond and let's kind of kick back and throw the line in the water. And oh, by the way, I'm running let's get out of this funk sale or whatever, right? And I can push them over and buy product. Like, so to me, the email list is number one for me always. It's kind of like the cornerstone because it's the lifeblood. I can always use that. So I've always included that in any business or anything that I've ever done. That's number one. Number two is traffic. So no matter how you get it, whether it's on social media, whatever, I like evergreen assets. So when I'm building evergreen assets, it means I want blog content that's going to be out there, that's going to always be bringing in numbers. I started 2 brands this past 6 months, and I did it as a case study inside of my Brand Creators Academy, where we actually build online brands. And in these 2 markets, we built from scratch. We're getting more traffic right now because, number one, it's 6 months old, and because there's people that just want to consume content.
Yeah.
So content doesn't, unless the internet completely shut down,
right?
Then you couldn't do it. But then, what's the chances of that, right? But same breath, I got other resources. I got other avenues. So to me, future-proofing means you have different channels, and that could be email, that could be Google traffic, that could be YouTube traffic. The reason why I'm not saying Instagram or Facebook, because I look at them as amplification. They're not evergreen. Mm-hmm. No one's searching on Facebook for a solution. No one's searching on Instagram for a solution, right? So that's how I think about it. That's my philosophy.
Yeah, nobody goes back unless they're stalking you through months and months of your old Instagram content.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a little weird,
They're
you get those people that like 20 posts in like 1 second, and you're like, what? Oh yeah, weird, right? Don't are you hot? Yeah. If you are, then we can talk. But that's
exactly.
what and Facebook especially too, right? So it's like, okay, so email list, a database or a channel that you control, traffic. Mm-hmm. How are you seeing, or how are you coaching people to monetize that database now? Because we've talked about workshops, physical products, online products. Is this something that you recommend to every brand, like just in case, or would you say once you understand this game, set up different brands?
No, I wouldn't say different brands. So so let's just say, for example, even let's just call it the Amazing Seller podcast. Mm-hmm. So if I set up other ways other than just me selling a course, right? So the way that we would do that is we would say, okay, what are we using in our business that we could create content around that Google would index and bring people over, regardless if I ever do a workshop? They're going to come over to my website and find a resource and potentially buy through my affiliate link. So that would be another thing that we're adding in our business that will not skip a beat. If the internet goes down, maybe, but we know that that's probably not going to happen. But we're setting that up so that if this happens and I can't do a live event, then it's okay because I've got that channel in place. So I look at it like, even if you were selling in the fishing world, like let's say that you were selling bass fishing gear, and right now there's Amazon sellers right now that are selling, and 99% of their money is coming from Amazon because that's where their business is set up. The problem is they're sourcing over in China. Those people can't send over into the States. Okay, so that's problem number one. Number two is Amazon's not letting us ship stuff into Amazon. Okay, that's problem number two. Number three, people that want to buy have to wait 3 to 4 to 5 weeks to get the stuff, right? But now what I'm telling those people is what you should be doing is you should be building the email list, and you should, because then you can direct those people to your own Shopify store and you can fulfill it yourself, or you send them over to useful content that you've been creating over the years that now also brings in people into the ecosystem through a Google search. Right? And then they can buy either through my products, or I have affiliate products set up, or I have my own digital product set up. So I'm really helping people see the opportunity other than just being their own. Like a lot of us think like we can only make money on our own stuff, right?
Yeah,
right now, people listening to this podcast, you could technically get sponsors to pay you to mention them. Now, you're not maybe doing that right now, but you could because you have the attention of a certain market. So as long as we have the attention, monetization is easy. That part's the easy part. It's the hard part is creating the audience or creating the traffic and the eyeballs.
Well, I think that's what a lot of people don't understand, right? They work for years and years and years. Early on, I didn't run many ads when I started my business. And looking back, I tell people that's the biggest mistake I made. I wish I paid for more traffic, and I got so used to organic traffic. And then once the market got flooded with, other people and competitors, and that's going to happen. What I started doing, and this is something that I nerd out about, and you and I have talked about this offline too. It's like, start another brand where I'm teaching the same stuff that I teach on my business page to a more niche market. So I'm teaching it to nonprofits, or I'm teaching it to people who are fundraising. And it's almost the same content. I mean, probably 80%. And that last 20% is what's tweaked. And I've got a partner there, membership site. The thing brings in $8,000 a month, for each of us. So, I mean, that's no small thing.
No, and it's great.
Probably the healthiest relationship I have with anything I've done in business, because I work minimal hours. I let it do its work, and it forced me to set up the systems that grow the list and get the traffic, because I didn't want to be spending all my creative time and my thinking time on that brand. It was a side thing. But it was never productized in the way that, I'm not selling physical products. It's still online courses. It's still IP. When you look at starting these other brands, because I feel like once you know how to do this in one vertical, it's essentially the same. You can set it up in other verticals. Do you go way outside of what you built with your personal brand or with the Amazing Seller? Do you sell fishing poles? Do you sell, I'm sure they're going to start selling these face masks soon. Someone's working on that. Do you look for those kind of opportunities, or do you stay more like in your lane of like what you're passionate about?
It's funny you say that, Mike. I just actually did a podcast on that. I did a little morning talk too with my people about, does it have to be your passion? For me, it's easier to get out of bed when you're working on something you're passionate about. But one thing I am also passionate about is I love building things. I love the process, right? So to me, here's my philosophy, by the way. Okay, so I just did an Airbnb. I bought an Airbnb a year and a half ago. We remodeled it, dumped a whole bunch of money into it. It's on the lake. It's premier property. I have a management company that handles it, and it's great. I want to own 5 of these because they're just they're profitable out of the gate. They build equity, and to me, it would just be 5 houses would be just beautiful, right? But it takes a lot of capital to do it. All right, but the way I look at it is I can create an online business piece of real estate in another market. Okay, let's say it's fishing. Let's say it's in bass fishing, and I can spend a year building this thing. Not me. I know how to build it. It's like building a home. I can go find the land. I can go ahead and get my contractors. I can build it, tell them where I want everything to go, and then it's for sale or for rent. So I can do that for a lot less than I can for an Airbnb right now, right? So my idea is I want to build these things on the side, regardless if I'm sharing how I'm doing it or not. I'm doing that. And the idea is after a year or two, to get them up to where they're cash flow positive. And then I can sell that business, or I can just hold it and just collect the rent. Right. So there's businesses being bought and sold right now. I mean, for as little as $5,000 all the way up to $5 to $10 million. Right. So that's what interests me. And that's what I'm passionate about, building things, and I'm passionate about the process. But does it help you to be passionate about, bass fishing, and you're going to create a market and you're just going to live in that world? Yeah. I mean, who wouldn't? But I don't think you have to be. I really don't. I think that you can just be passionate about the process. And I mean, let's be honest. I mean, years ago, my wife and I ran a photography business. When I was getting out of the construction world, I wanted something to relieve me from my job. And she's like, well, I could do part-time photography. I like it. I don't know a lot about it. So we learned it. I wasn't passionate about photography. I was passionate about getting out of my job.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
But I fell in love with Photoshop. I fell in love with marketing. I fell in love with video editing. All of that stuff, I was led there. And that's, again, I wrote a book called The Take Action Effect, which is all about those things, right? There's these moments that we have that lead us to those places. But no, I don't believe you have to be passionate. I think you can fall into your passion by trying more things and doing things and building things.
Yeah, I agree, actually. Because once you learn marketing, once you learn those things you talked about, right?
Yeah.
How to build it, how to set up the system, it's really just a wash, rinse, repeat. Yeah. And I've got so many crazy ideas, and I don't have time to implement them.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, how do I treat this like a real business? Because I think what happens with a lot of folks, especially who are listening to this show,
sure,
people want to start a personal brand business, and it's usually birthed out of, I hate my day job. I've got something to say. I want to coach people. I want to speak on stage. I, right? Which, no problem with that.
Sure.
But I also, and I love talking to guys like you, because you're hard into is this profitable? What are we building? Like, what's the infrastructure of this real business? Whereas when I went into this space, I had to learn that lens, because everything was about getting out of my day job. And I knew I could create content. I knew I could write well. I knew I could speak well. But because of those things, they actually became a crutch and a hindrance to me building the business that is Mike Kim. So I'm like, dude, I gotta find someone to administrate this stuff. I gotta find a content creator. I've got to find. Why would I do all this myself? This is like starting a pizza shop and being the guy in the oven, in the kitchen. Why would I do that? So I say that because I think a lot of those of us who are listening to this show, and I know this because I've coached a lot of people. Right. And on one hand, you meet the folks who are super passionate about a message and about impact and all these other ways, influence and blah, 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 blah. Right. And you have these other folks who are like, I don't give a crap about that stuff. I just want to work. Like, I want to work on my own terms. I don't want to even be the face of the brand. And I feel like there hasn't been a space for those people. Especially even in my tribe, where I'm just like, that's okay. You don't need to be the face of the brand, but you do need to learn some really basic skills. And then you could go start a business where it's a fishing blog, or, dude, I had this idea. Okay. And I've talked about this, so I'm okay. And I own the domain, so I know no one's going to steal it. Right. I love Scotch and I love scuba diving. Right. So I'm like, I'm going to start a blog called Scotch and Scuba. Right. I'm like, and I bought the domain and blah, blah, blah. Listen, I'll be honest. I don't know jack about Scotch, and I don't know jack about scuba. I really don't. I like doing it. I'm a novice, right? I know what kind of Scotch I like, but I'm not like this aficionado. And I'm just like, if I wanted to grow this brand, if Scott told me, hey, I got you this idea, go build this website, go build this brand, I would get content creators who are nerdy about Scotch, and I would hire photographers. And that's the way that I would build that business. And that's what I love about talking to you, because and about your show, it reframes the way that I look at my business. Do you see that? Do you feel like that's the key moving forward? Because this space has matured. 3-5 years down the road, are guys like me who are creating intellectual property, are you like, dude, you better diversify, you better build a couple other brands here in 3 to 5 years? Do
Yeah.
you see that?
I mean, it's tough because I even thought about that myself, Mike. It's like, and if you think about it, right, like you can't sell Mike Kim necessarily, right? You're not going to sell Mike Kim unless Mike Kim goes along with it as like you're going to be like on a retainer or something, or you're going to get some type of compensation. Actually, a brand, I can't speak about this when we're going to be selling hopefully soon, but part of the problem we had to get out of is the person that I was partnered with was more of the face of the brand. And people buying it didn't give it as much. It gave it value, but it was harder to now have contributors into the brand. Right. So I think number one, if you are building a personal brand, that's fine. But the other thing you need to consider, and this is what I'm even telling myself, so I'm coaching myself at this. That's why I got the Airbnb, right? That's why I purchased that. I need something that's producing revenue without Scott being attached to it. Yes. Right. And so because of that, that was that thing. That thing was also $300,000 out of my pocket that I had to throw in the game because the house is like 1.2 million. Okay. So it's one of those things and that was a stretch. And I'm like, oh, this is exciting. This is fun, but I can't do 5 of them right now. Right. Without, being over leveraged and everything. Who wants to be there? But what I can do is I can take my skill set of building these properties that don't rely on Scott. I'll come up, I want to be the idea guy. And then I want to go, hey guys, you know what? We're going to go build that thing over there. I already bought the land. All we got to do is build it, get the contractors in there to build the thing. Then we're going to furnish it. And then we're going to put it on the market. That's what I get excitement out of because I can replicate that and I can scale that. I just need to find the right people. Right. So yes, I would advise that, Mike. I think for all of us, you and me.
Yeah. I've thought about it a lot. I've thought about it a lot because I know what it takes to build an intellectual property-based brand because I did that for myself. So even, joking around, even if I start a brand called Scotch and Scuba, right? Yeah. The monetization has to come from traffic. Traffic and collaborations, sponsorships or whatever. Basically, you need to create an influencer brand. Yeah. And I'm just like, that's exhausting. It's not quick. Sure, it's a lifestyle brand. I had another one. I was gonna, dude. I've never talked about this publicly, but I also own the domain, so it's okay. So this thing, right? Yeah. I'm just gonna say this outright. Korean women, okay, in Korea, they are. We jokingly say all they want to do with their lives, Pilates and brunch. That's all. They don't want to go to work. This is a very Korean thing. Okay. So all the ladies listening, I'm not like, being a misogynist or anything like this. I'm Korean. I can say this. Okay. And so if I took you to Seoul, bro, and we walked out and I'm like, dude, meet me for 10:30 in the morning at so-and-so cafe. Bro, literally the place would be packed out with women.
Really?
In their 30s and 40s, all brunching. There's a word for it. It's called brunching. They're just brunching, literally just all day brunching for a couple of hours. Okay. And they all did Pilates in the morning after they dropped their kid off at nursery school or whatever. And they brunch until their kid, comes out, and then they go home. And their husbands are slaving away at the company, right? It's a very Korean thing to do. Okay. And so I was talking to this gal I know out in New York City, and she's around that age, right? She was in the late 20s at the time. And really successful. I'm like, well, so what do you want to do with your life? And, she's asking me some career advice. She's like, what do you do in marketing? And she goes, oh, all I want to do is like do Pilates and eat brunch. And I bought the domain like 10 minutes later. I saw it, bro. I saw it. And I was like, Pilates and brunch. Now, clearly, Mike Kim should not be the face of that brand. Okay. No. But I thought about this. I'm like, oh my God, I could see the Instagram blow up. I could see Pinterest, I could see like all this stuff. And yet it would take forever because I'd have to build brand equity for 2-3 years. And I'm like, maybe I should just go sell fishing poles. Maybe I should do that because, it's a need. And I know marketing, I know copywriting. Why don't I do that? So I'm sure you get a few folks who are like that though. So yeah, but. Yeah,
but I'd like to challenge you on that because I think that, from what you're saying from a brand standpoint is one thing, but to me, and I just did a podcast on this. I forget now. It was like ask.com or one of them, right? It was basically a news type site. right? And all they did was they curated news,
Mhm.
and then their monetization was then selling ad spots, right? And they were a multi-million-dollar company. The problem is the news sites are kind of becoming like not well. They're also here today and gone tomorrow, right? Like news is news, right? It's in the news and then it's out of the news, right? So they started saying content marketing is the next thing. So they started picking up like thespruce.com, which is all about gardening, right? There's another one there. Oh gosh, what was the other one? It was something to do with something like motherhood or something, right? Mm-hmm. So they picked up these content sites, which all it is content that's created to answer people's specific questions. And they picked them up for a couple $1 million each to add to their portfolio of content sites. Now, those content sites, all they're doing is they're selling ad spots to, people that are interested in gardening or people that are interested in motherhood or any of that stuff. So my thing is, you're really just you're not building brand equity. You're building a resource of information and data that when someone searches for it, they find yours on that specific topic, and then you monetize through advertising. So there's AdThrive. Have you ever heard of AdThrive before?
Yes. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
okay, so AdThrive, we've got that on one of our blogs, and we're getting about 150,000 to 200,000 page views per month, and that's getting we're making about $4,500 to $5,500 a month just on impressions. So to me, I don't even have to sell affiliate products at that point. We are, but you don't even have to, right? So to me, it's like if you create this resource, this online resource in your market, how to become the best bass fisherman out there, right? You can just have contributors, and those contributors are article writers that will write for you for $30 to $50 an article, and that's it. Like,
all right,
yeah.
Pilates and Brunch, founded by Scott Voelker and Mike Kim, the last two guys you'd ever imagine.
Yes, we'll just be pulling the strings. We're not going to be doing any face stuff.
I'm not doing Pilates. I've tried it. As much as I try to get in shape, Pilates doesn't work for me. Doesn't work. Dude,
my wife's been trying to get me to do Pilates.
Yeah, I've done a few, and at first you're like, this is stupid, but you need the machines.
Yeah, okay.
And you do the machine. I mean, I know you're in very good shape. I'm in pretty good shape, but
I'm not flexible though. As I'm getting older, I'm like, oh man, I got to stay limber.
You're just like, what do you want me to do on this machine? And they take up the whole room, and really? This is a big deal in Korea, and these are expensive things. So, that's why it feels a little bit elitist. If you've got a Pilates machine at your house, like you've made it, right? Okay. And it is a very different type of culture there. It's very hierarchical, blah, 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 blah. Okay. Right. But if you got a Pilates machine, you're just kind of one of these elite, kind of upper class people. But I tried it once, and it was, man, I was just like, no, thank you. It's not supposed to hurt that way. I never in my life would I use my muscle this way.
It's crazy.
And that's why, the women look the way they do, the guys look the way they do there, because it's weird muscles, right? So, all right, we're digressing, dude. This is so helpful to kind of brainstorm with you and talk about, because I do see the need for folks in this space to diversify a little bit later. You've got a book out now called The Take Action Effect. I want people to kind of get a preview of this.
Sure.
Talk about this. What led you to write it? Who's it for?
Well, Mike, and I think you even helped me because when we were at the last Puerto Rico Masterminds together, I was telling you about it and everything. And I think we always get this, I don't know if it's an itch or whatever, but we're like, I think there's something in me that I want to share with the world. There's some piece of legacy that we want and stuff. And I just, again, never really thought that I was worthy of that, I guess. Just, who wants to hear my story? You know what I mean? And so I kept running it by people, and then they were all just like, you got to share this, and it's basically what the book basically is, I've been kind of known or coined as the take action guy, because I preach it all the time. It's like we can sit here and think about this stuff all day, but until we do something, that's not until we see what's going to happen. So I've just noticed it by retracing my own steps. Every time that I felt uncomfortable, like even right now, right? There is change happening right now within us as people and as the world, right? But even just as a personal level, this will be a moment in your life that will change your life probably forever. And in some people's more than others, right? And so on a positive side, this could be that uncomfortable thing because you're forced to, that will create this, I call them take action moments, So it's a moment that is going to change something for you. And you're going to look back. And I mean, you've probably heard this number of times as well, right? People say, man, if I didn't get fired from my job, I never would have started my business, and I never would have, right? That's what we're talking about, right? So we have to look at that. So the book really covers how to identify your own superpowers, your own strength, your own willpower, all of that stuff, because I lacked that for the longest time. I didn't graduate. I didn't go to college. I graduated high school. I never went to college a day in my life. And I always felt like I wasn't as smart as someone that went to college. And now years later, I'm coaching people that went to college that are looking at me for advice, right? So it took years to get to that point. But the whole book is really about how to create, a better you in a sense of like mindset, but then how do we apply that to creating your business that supports your lifestyle? And to me, it's all about like family. It's all about like enjoying the moments that we're here. So half the book is about really identifying yourself, getting crystal clear on you and what you want, and then breaking away from the norm, and then turning that into the second half of the book is really like how to build a brand, not even just a personal brand, but a brand that you can get behind, that can supply that freedom that we all are striving for.
Yeah, I love that. I think that is one of the things that I actually this season has forced me to pause, like a lot of other people.
Sure.
And am I treating myself the way that I would want my boss to? I'm like my worst own boss. I'm the worst boss I've ever had, to be honest. And I love working, right? I love it. I love what I do, but why? And it reminds me of that. We've been talking a lot about fishing poles, but it reminds me of that story about the fisherman. This wealthy businessman went out on vacation and went to this island. And I think about Puerto Rico all the time when I think about you. Yeah. And takes him out on the boat, and the businessman goes, what do you do all day? He's like, I go out on the boat, take people on the water. He's like, if you hired some other person to do this, then you could have 2 boats. He's like, then what would I do? He's like, then you hire 4 boats. And then what would I do? You open another location, you hire people there. And then what do I do? Open a 3rd location. And then what do I do? Well, you take all that money and you have all this money. He's like, then what do I do? He's like, well, you take all the money, you retire, and you take a boat out onto the water. Right. And we sometimes lose sight of why we have built these businesses. We get so caught up in the stuff. And I love building things. You love building things.
Yep.
But at the end of the day, if all we're doing is building things and we're not enjoying our lives, we got the ladder that we're climbing. It's leaned up against the wrong building. So
yeah, I agree, man. That's a tough one too, man. It's like, because as entrepreneurs, we can work all day long, all night long. We have to set different boundaries and stuff. And I mean, I've personally had to do that myself just to create structure in my life. And and part of that is just being disciplined. But it takes work, man. And sometimes I feel like and I've got to actually remind myself, and I know you probably do as well. You're like, wait a minute, why did I start this? Why am I doing this? Like, why am I putting this much pressure on myself? Do I really, why, so it does, but anyway, to kind of sum it up, I mean, bottom line is like, you need to understand and get clear with yourself what the heck you're doing and why. And then from there, create the plan and go out. Period.
Yeah. It's good stuff. Dude, thank you so much for jumping on. You guys got to check out Scott's podcast. It is one of the top ranked podcasts in the business category. That's a huge accomplishment. The Amazing Seller
thanks, man.
podcast, and congrats on all the success. And I can't wait to see you, man, soon. Hopefully sooner than later.
Yeah, I know. And we got to get you back on the show too, because we need to talk more stuff, right. And I definitely want to get you on and talk a little bit more about the copywriting stuff, because that is your wheelhouse.
I can do that.
I need help with that.
All right.
But Mike, I appreciate you, man. I appreciate you.
I appreciate you. All right. Thanks for jumping on, bro.
Hey, it's Mike Kim here. Thanks so much for checking out my YouTube channel, where we talk all about building a personal brand business. That means you as a coach, a speaker, a content creator, how to market your content, how to create great content that people love. Make sure you hit that little notification bell, subscribe to the channel so that you never miss a video. So glad you're here.